Shalom Aleichem, we're learning the Sicha of Devarim Dalid. And in order to do that, in order to learn it together, let's just share the screen. Okay, this was not said on the Devarim, this was actually said on the Rebbe's 25th wedding anniversary. Sorry, the 40th wedding anniversary. Apologies. Rebbe got married in Tafesh Peites, and this was said Tafshin Chavtes, the Shabbos after the anniversary, Tez Zayin Kislev. And that was started off with a whole thing about brachas, and that was all published in the Hisafis of Chelik Hey. And look what the Sicha says. You can see lots and lots of points and footnotes that the Rebbe said in the bracha of thank you that he thanked. Then the Rebbe, talking about brachas, the Rebbe went on to talk about our Sicha. Again, as I mentioned in the previous recording of Devarim Gimel, this Sicha was said now, and then it was published and edited and published 7 years later, Tafshin Lamed Vav, and that Shabbos that it was published and printed out to the community, the Rebbe then said the other Sicha, Al Pi Pshuti Shal Mikra, the Gimel. My hypothesis why that one's published first, even though it was said later, is because first Pshuti Shal Mikra, and then this Sicha, which is more Chassidus. So what did we learn in this Sicha? We learned the need of the bracha of Moshe Yisrael Hashem Aleichem Kachem Elafam, even though you have the bracha of Hashem Kasher Diber Lachem, without limit. And the Rebbe said, as he was saying the Sicha, that something that's limited has no comparison to Bli Gvul, and therefore you cannot have, from a lot of Gvul, you can never have Bli Gvul, something we learned, because every part is Gvul. Because compared to Bli Gvul, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in one is the same thing, because the moment you start dissecting the hundreds of thousands, they're just a bunch of ones, so they're all limited. Fine. Then the Rebbe went on, and by explaining the idea of limits within mitzvahs, that because it's not something limited from the outside, but rather it's a way that Hashem limits himself. In other words, it's not limited from something outside, but rather it's within Hashem. So then it's not really Hagbala. And therefore, you can have Gvul within it. But it's Bli Gvul, the way Gvul and Bli Gvul combine through the Kerech Atzmus, which is higher than two. The Rebbe said there's a similar idea in Halacha, as we find regarding covering a head. That doesn't help that which you go like this, your hand on your head, unless you have the sleeve. Now, the sleeve is batal to the yad, right? It doesn't have its own identity. So why does it cover? Why is it effective? And why, if I use the sleeve, is it good? But if I use the hand, it's not good. And what's the answer? The answer is because etzem cannot cover over etzem. And therefore, the skin, the moment it's skin, you can't cover yourself, even though it looks like I'm covering it. Because it itself is covering itself, it's magbil itself, it's not hagbala umitis, and therefore it's not true limitation, and therefore it's not a real covering. However, the moment I have some cloth, even though it's tafel to the yad, it's secondary to the yad, nevertheless, there is some separation. So what does the Rebbe learn? From the fact that I can't cover myself with my hand. So what do you see? You see the moment you're limiting yourself, that's not real limit. The moment I'm blocking myself, it's not a real blocking. I think it's a fascinating nekudah that obviously was brought out more when the Rebbe said the Sicha, but it didn't make it, maybe it's made into one of the others, but very fascinating how the Rebbe brought out that incredible example in Halacha. Then the Rebbe went on to continue to talk about brachas, like you can see, just on and on and on, especially regarding the brachas that you gave me for the 40th anniversary. The Rebbe goes on to talk about the number 40, and mem pasuach, etc. Then the Rebbe went on to learn a Rashi Sicha that we learned a few years ago in Chelek Yud. And the Rebbe went to Gersa Tshuva, as you would do very often. The Rebbe would teach in those years, especially about Sichas of Gersa Tshuva, specifically 40 fasts, etc. This is all part of the Rebbe's anniversary Farbrengen. And then we just finished off about the Arizal. Yesterday, I'm recording this on Wednesday, so yesterday was Hey Av, was the 450th yard site of the Arizal. So yeah, should be a Melitz Yesher, and we should only have Hatzlach in our learning, and so this Tevis for Kol Am Yisrael.